All right. Welcome to the very first Zoom edition, Digital Demos, Autocad Digital Demos Hacks. Our host today is AIAS representative and AutoCAD stylist extraordinaire, Kylee Polash. Thank you, Kylee. And so just a reminder, Digital Demos is for students by students. So it's connecting you guys with skill sets that are requested by students, and then I try to go recruit an expert, or offered by a student expert, and then I try to go rally up a bunch of students. So thank you to Kylee for volunteering. Thank you to all of you for coming. And if there's any other things that you guys want, let me know. We will have as many digital demos as you darn well please. We do them for the low, low price of imaginary pizza. So here you go is your imaginary pizza. Oh, it smells so good. And we will actually, we're doing something completely new. We're going to continue doing digital demos into the summer. So we are actually, it's a great way to build your resume, put something on your resume. So Kylee can say that she is now a digital demos presenter. Boom. And if you want to show something off and say, hey guys, check this out, or I learned something cool, or we should learn this program, Digital Demos is all about that. So on that note, I'm gonna be quiet and I'm gonna enable screen sharing, and Kylee, take us away into the wonderful world of CAD.
Okay guys, so I'm basically gonna show you how to start using CAD. I'll show you some of my projects and how I've used CAD. So let me share my screen. Okay. So you guys can see this? You good? You see my mouse? Yeah, okay. Okay, so just no, I have the 2019 version of AutoCAD, so I have not updated it yet, and I also only have the generic version of AutoCAD. I don't have the architecture version, so there are two versions of it. I've always used the normal version of AutoCAD. I tried using the architecture one in high school and was not a fan, so I just use this one as a general AutoCAD. So when you open AutoCAD, this is generally what it looks like, unless it's an updated version. So if you've used it in the past, you'll have your recent documents. You can open files, templates, stuff like that. So if I'm starting a new file, I usually start on the screen and click the plus, which takes me to a new drawing. So this is a blank drawing. You can see there's nothing on it. So then what I do first is make sure my units are good. So right here, you have inches, that's always good. Inches or feet, I usually do inches. And then I usually change my decimal to architectural reading, because I don't like trying to think of 3/8 in decimals or 1/32 in decimals. I'm not a fan of that. So I usually start off with architectural and inches, and you click OK. And then you guys always gotta make sure you save it. I generally save my documents right away, so it keeps everything. I'll put this under mid-crit for you guys. Okay. So this is generally where I am. And to start off, I usually do a lot of my stuff hand drawing. So I'll do bubble diagrams, or I'll do floor plans by hand before I do anything in CAD, because CAD makes you type in numbers. So usually you want to get out all your ideas first on paper before you go into a digital software. So then I generally start just drawing lines. So up here, you see the line tool. You can also type in L, which takes you to the line tool. Something really nice about CAD and Rhino, which you'll guys get next year, is any command you can really type in, and it'll take you right to it. Similar with Adobe, if you hit V, it takes you back to the cursor, cropping, different things like that. So I'll just draw a line for you guys. So right now I have free range of this line. If you go down to this toolbar, there's this little perpendicular looking image that's called ortho mode. If you click that, then all of your lines will be perpendicular at 90-degree angles, which is really useful. If you don't have that on, it's gonna be like this, but if you do hold Shift you'll get that nice 90-degree angle. But I do highly recommend that you use ortho 90% of the time. So we'll make this line 15 feet. So you can just type in 15, and since my units are in inches, that will give me 15 inches. So I will use the single apostrophe. That'll give me 15 feet. And then from there, it keeps going. So we'll just make a random shape, and I'll click enter. The way to end anything is you can use a space bar. Space bar will start a command, the last command you ended, or it will also end a command. Same thing with enter, it will restart a command or end a command. And if you don't know what to do, you can hit escape. Escape does take you out of any command. So this is generally what your cursor will look like when you're not in a command. Okay, so I just showed you guys how to draw a line. There are 4 separate lines. So one thing that you can do is you can leave them as single lines. Generally, I'll join my lines, but not till I'm later on where I want all my lines to stay together. If I'm doing a complex floor plan and I'm doing like doors and windows and stuff, I'll just leave all the lines singular. Okay, so we'll do that. We'll join these. So you can either try and find it on your toolbar, or you can type join, and now it's all one shape. And then from there, you can move these around as well. It's just like a box. It's the same thing if you go up here, you click on rectangle or you type rectangle, you'll get this shape. And this is all one, so you can adjust those too, which is really nice if you don't know what kind of size you want. If you, let's say you draw out a floor plan and it's 30 by 30, and then when you put in CAD, you're realizing how big your doors are, you can adjust this, make it a little longer. If you click on something and type in 3 feet, it will stretch it 3 feet. So really your commands are all determined by what you do. You can type in different lengths and stuff like that. Okay, so we'll go back to this one here. We'll get rid of this one. So we're at this one, and I drew this box really quickly. So you can see I have this huge corner here that's not touching. So if you do fillet, it's this fillet command here, you can type in fillet. You can click one line, you can click another line, and then it corners it, and it's all one shape, which is really helpful if you're trimming different things, or if you have lines that are not touching at the corners, you can just fill it and it connects. Or another thing you can do with the fillet is if you're trying to get some kind of radius, you can go down to this little toolbar here. This is your command bar. You'll have radius. You can type in, let's do 1 foot. We'll click this line, we'll click this line, and you can see here that it creates a little curved corner for you guys. Chamfer is the same way. I don't really use any of these. The only tool I really use is fillet, but chamfer is like if you'd want to get like a mitered corner. I don't know for any reason you need to do that right now, but fillet's generally what I use. Okay, so we'll go back to this. From here, let's say we'll draw this here. We'll draw just something random. Let's say you only wanted to stop it at this line. You can select the line here, go up to your trim, which is right here, or you can type in trim. And you can just select these and get rid of them. Or if you wanted to select these, you cannot, because now they're their own line segment. So if you want to delete those, you'd have to scroll over them and delete those. Another thing too with your mouse is if you right click, you'll get all these options. If you left click, just one click, then you can drag your mouse anywhere and it clicks like this. If you hold down your left click, you're like drawing, which is kind of weird. So generally when I use my mouse, I left click and scroll over everything. And then if you say I want only one of these 2 lines and I didn't want this box, I can hold down shift and it deselects the box. So that's really helpful if you're clicking a whole bunch of small lines and you accidentally got one too many, you can deselect without escaping out of all of them. Okay, so right here, we'll get rid of this. Let me draw a nice brand new box for you guys. We'll draw this box here. So let's say you're making a floor plan. This is my floor. You guys will learn that generally speaking, exterior walls are 1 foot, interior walls are 6 inches. unless you're doing some kind of project with resiliency or partition walls. It really depends on the project, but generally speaking, 1 foot and 6 inches. So here's my floor plate. You go up to this little button here. This is the offset command, or if you type in offset, that's also another thing. You can type in all these commands, which is really helpful. So this is what it looks like. I'll type in 1 foot, enter, and then it will take this box, and whether your mouse is on the outside, the offset line will go out or they'll go in. So I want them inward, click escape, and there's your wall right there. So that's really helpful when doing floor plans because you don't have to redraw another box and hope it lines up. You literally just click the line, offset in, and boom, you're done with that. I wrote a list for you guys of stuff to go over. Okay. So then we'll show you guys how to do, let's say you wanted an opening right here. Another thing too that I didn't mention, I haven't gotten to it yet, but down here are your snap blocks. So these are the lists of snap blocks that you can do. These are the ones I have on. So they have a few different icons when you're drawing to show you the different snaps you have. So the square snap is going to be your end point, and the triangle snap is going to be your midpoint. I don't do circles too much, but I do have the center point on anyways. Quadrant is if you have a circle, you can get on any of the sides. Intersection, extension, perpendicular, nearest, if you're drawing a line and you want to click on a line, this will take you to the nearest line so you can go along that. Sometimes nearest can get a little annoying, so that's one I usually toggle with. But these are snap blocks, very important. I'd suggest midpoint and endpoint are probably the 2 most needed ones that you should have on. And I can also turn off all of them at the same time. So I'll show you what it looks like without them on. So right here, there's a corner. I'm trying to click on it. And unless you zoom, I'll click like right here. It looks kind of close. We'll draw that line. But if you turn your snap blocks on, when you draw a line, you'll see this box pop up. That means you're on the corner, you're clicked on the corner, and then you can draw a line right off of that corner, which is really nice. Like if you need to be touching lines, I'll show you the nearest. The nearest is like this little hourglass. And then midpoint is that little triangle there. So this is the middle of the line. I do a lot of symmetrical designs, so that's really helpful for me. Do that. I'll show you, we're gonna grab one of my doors from one of my old projects. Let's see, where are my doors? Okay, we'll grab these doors. So what's nice about CAD is there are so many CAD blocks out there. So if you wanted to put in furniture, you can go on a CAD blocks website and import sofas, chairs, tables. For my last project, I had an art studio, so I imported an art easel. What I noticed for doors, for me, it's easier for me to make them myself. So I basically made a door once and I copy and paste it into every project. So CAD has the option, if you make something in CAD, you can copy and paste it into another CAD block, another CAD file, I mean. So that's really useful. I just use the same things for all my files. Okay, so here's my door right here. I'll show you guys how I make it real quick. So this door is gonna go right here. So to do that, I'm gonna have to rotate it. So you'll go up to the rotate command, or you can type in rotate. I usually just click unless I'm being too specific. So here I am rotating it. It is going on 90-degree angles because I have ortho on. So I do want to turn it this way because if this is my inside, the doors should always be going out. So we'll click move, or you can type in move. And this is on ortho. The only thing I hate about ortho is that when you move, you can't just like click where you want it. So I usually turn ortho off to move stuff, and then I'll turn it back on after. Okay, so these are my doors. Okay, let me measure this. So there's a measure command up here. I just want to see, all my doors are going to be 3 feet wide. That's generally a good size for commercial spaces. I'm going to measure to see how wide the door I made is. So that is 2 inches there. So if you type in measure, you'll see this command, measure geom. So if you do that, you can click distance, radius, angle, area, or volume. I usually only use distance. If I'm worrying about square footages, I'll do area, obviously radius and angles. I don't really do angles too much. So I'll do distance, and then you can click an endpoint. Let's say I wanted to measure the whole distance of this door, which it should be 6 feet, 5 feet, 8 inches, okay? So there you go. So we'll make this door. I'll show you how I make my doors. So first you'll just click, gotta turn ortho on. So I'll make this door 3 feet, enter. I'll go over 2 inches. We'll go up again 3 feet. And then that's generally how I make my door. I do leave it open, and then we use our offset command. I'll offset this 3 feet, because that's how big my door is going to be. Click enter. And then I'm gonna come up here and use my arc tool. Let's see, start, center. So similarly with your line, the line's just normal line, polyline has a lot more points on it. Circle and arc are where it becomes a little tricky because there are different options. So if I was drawing a circle, I can pick the center, type in the radius, and it'll go that big. Or I can type the center and then get a diameter. So for arc, I usually like to use the start, end, and radius. That's what I use a lot. So when I make my doors, I'll start here, click to the end. So this is my 3 feet. And it's going the opposite direction. Okay, let's do a different one. We'll do start, and we'll try this one. Sometimes you'll realize what angle tools you like the most. See, this one's giving me like a circle. So we'll try this one, see how this one works. Like I said, I don't really use the arc tool too much. I don't do curves. So the only time I use it's when I make my doors. But because I do have so many that I've used in my previous projects, I do just copy and paste. So we'll click this one. This one is the one I'm liking right now. Start, end, in direction. So you click your start point, click end point, and then you pick your direction. So we're gonna pick this way, escape. So then you can get rid of that line, and then boom, you have your door. So let's start getting into our layer properties now. So now that you have a whole bunch of lines, you guys know by now that your walls aren't the same line weight as your doors, which aren't the same line weight as your door swings. So we'll go up to layer. Hello to anyone who just joined. So I'm up to my layer properties, and all CAD files will start out with the 0 layer. That was the default layer that I was drawing on. But because I imported my doors, I copy and pasted my doors into my file, I now have other layers from my previous projects that are now in. So when you do copy and paste from file to file, it keeps the line weights and it keeps the layers that those objects were on. So we'll make my doors. I usually do as the default, the 0.25 layer. So we'll do that. We'll make a door layer, door, and then you just click that. So what I did was click this file stack with the little orange, which is how you create a new layer. Then under here, you can change the color to white, continuous. So something that's interesting is that because AutoCAD has a dark background, I usually do a lot of my lines in white. And then when you go to print, it actually prints in black. So it's not gonna print white on white, which is really nice. So you can see it in your model space. And then when you go in your paper space, you can still print it. So we're gonna make this. All I did was click on the line weight, click 2.5, okay. We'll scroll over. We're keeping the transparency at 0. We're keeping, this is the line type. So you can change it from continuous lines to dashed lines to dotted lines. So we're just gonna keep this continuous. And then while we're here, I'm going to make a door swing layer as well. So same thing, click the new layer. As you can see, the layers I've used in the past, I'll pick a layer and put multiple objects on them. So my layer names tend to get really long. So this here, I just double clicked on this layer. You can see my doors, my stairs, my windows, my ramps, and my floors were all on this 0.25 layer. And then my furniture layer and my door swings were on the same at 0.09. So that's just something I like to do. I like to group my objects. You'll start realizing when you're drawing that hand drawing goes right into CAD drawing, and your line weights are all gonna be different. So it's whatever reads the best. It's kind of like a trial and error type situation, but we're gonna make this 0.09. And because I use it in black, we're just going to change the color to black. You can change it to red. You can change it to yellow. We're going to make this black. Usually for my furniture, I use the black layer so I can differentiate between what is built and what is furniture. So I'll exit out of that. So right now we'll go back to, so this is the layer you're on. Sorry guys, can't see my screen. Okay, so this is the layer you're on, 0. You'll go down. I want to change my door to the door layer. I click on that. Right here, sorry guys, got a 1-year-old puppy who's really loud. So I changed my layer to the door layer, but when I selected these objects, it was still showing on the 0 layer. So you want to take this layer while your objects are selected, change it to door, you can hit escape, and these objects are now under my door layer. So same thing with my door swing. I'll select the door swing, put it under my door swing layer, and then both of these will be on separate layers. So now if you select all these objects, you'll notice that there's not a layer listed because you have multiple layers selected. So then there you go. And then another thing I like to do with my doors is now I'll select all of these. I'll type in group. So now they're grouped together. So if I move it, it's all one thing, opposed to trying to move something and having multiple objects. Okay, so we'll make this door, this one I just drew, look like this one. So I usually use for my entrances and exits a double door. So you can select objects you have, click mirror, which is right here, this little triangle double-sided, or you can type it in. I'll click on this. This is my middle point of my 2 doors, or my end point of the swing. And then because I have ortho on, it will lock at 90 degrees. If you don't, you'll have a spinning door here. So I'll go right up, click that. I do not want to erase the source object, so I'll click no. And there are my 2 double doors. So now they are both individual objects. So I'll take that, slide over all of them, and group those. So now you have 1 object. Just wondering, you guys, are you guys following along on your own CAD? On your own CAD on your computer? Or are you just taking notes? Yeah, Zach's got CAD up. Okay, just wondering. Okay, so now I have this door. You can see my old doors over here. Also, another thing to note is when you copy from one file and put it in another, it will ungroup anything you have grouped. So this was originally a group in my other file, but when I put it in this one, they're all now individual objects, something to note. If you try to move it, everything will be individual. So we'll take this, we'll go back up to move, or you can type it in, and we'll click down here. This is the middle point. So now let's go find the middle on here. You can see I have ortho on, so it's a little glitchy when you try to move it off of that 90-degree angle. Oh, we'll go along this line until you see there's a triangle, so that is the middle. I'll click it. So right now we have these 2 on our wall. So now we're gonna make a door opening. So now I generally just go back up to my line tool, click here. You can see it's on an endpoint, so you don't have any straight lines sticking around. Another thing too that I mentioned with your snap blocks, if you have perpendicular, when you try to draw a line, it will stick perpendicular. Right now I do not have ortho on, but perpendicular is there. So we'll click that. And now I have this line, so I can click spacebar, I can click enter, I can click escape. It's kind of whatever pops into my head first. Okay, so we'll go back. So now I have this one line, and you know your door is going to be 3 feet wide. So I can go up to my offset, or I can type in offset, type in 3 feet. Oop, my bad. Okay, let's do 3 feet. So 3 feet, we'll take it over here. We'll take it here because my doors are only 3 feet. So my whole space needs to be 6 feet. So what's nice too is you're still in the offset command. I can just keep offsetting as much as I want. So instead of Xing out and typing in 6 feet, you can just click on this line, go another 3 feet, click spacebar, escape, and there's your opening. So I'm just gonna click on this one. For people who are new, I'm just left click, dragging, and left click again, and it selects your objects. So I'm gonna just delete those. Okay, so now I have my door, but there's still no opening. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna click, left click, drag this line, left click, drag this line, go up to my trim or type in trim. And now I can click this line or click this line, or I can click and drag. And then I just got rid of both those lines. So now you have this nice clean outline of walls and then your door opening. Also, guys, if I'm going too fast or if you have any questions because you just logged on, you can type in the chat or you can just interrupt me. Anything's cool. So now you have this right here. Okay, we'll make a new layer because we do have these walls that we haven't addressed yet. So we'll go up to our layer properties. New layer, it's the layer button with the little orange asterisk. We'll type in wall cuts, click enter. I'll keep that white, I'll keep that a continuous line. And for my line weight, I usually use 0.3 just so it's darker than my others. Even though I do poche my walls, I know Andrew is sometimes against poche, I do poche my walls when I do digital work. So I'll do that post-processing. Sometimes I'll do it in CAD. CAD gets a little glitchy when you try to do it. So you have to be real careful with that. But generally speaking, I'll do it post-processing in Illustrator or in Photoshop. So we just did create, that layer. So we'll click on, these are our walls. What's nice too is even though you did trim that line we created a while ago, it's still all one continuous. So I'll click the interior one as well. These wall cuts we just made. Then you can see we have all these walls connected. Go up to layers, click wall cuts. There you go. Some of you may think too, we just made all three of these 3 different line weights and they're still reading the same because there's an option down here called show hide line weight. So right now it's off. So if I click that button, now you'll see you have this darker line weight. This one just got thinner. So that's something useful. So usually when I'm early in my projects, I don't necessarily worry too much about showing the line weight because I understand the walls are thicker. I just keep my layer properties really clean and neat. So we can click that again. I'll show you guys again. Down here at the bottom, it's like some dark lines with some thin lines, this weird icon. If you click it, you can now see your line weights. Okay. So then again, that's up in layer properties. You can also go in here and change your line weights or line types or colors at any point you want. So right now I've been using the same layers as my other projects. So right now, this is my project. Ooh, that's not my project. This is my project from last semester. This is the project I did earlier this semester. So in this one, you can see my layers. There's a whole bunch of them. So I did my elevation sections and floor plans in one file, but I basically took all of these. Let's see if I can remember this. You can, if you go to Layer States Manager, which is really nice, I did new. So I created a whole grouping of all of these layers that I can now import into other CAD projects. So that's really nice. That's what I did for my project now. I already made all these layers. I already made all these line types. So instead of going through and redoing all these layers, I can just group them all together. So this, let me get out of that. It's this button here. Obviously, you guys probably don't have any CAD files yet, but once you start figuring out what works for you, Layer States Manager, you just click new. You can name it. So that's right here. And then let me close out of this. Like I said, this is one of my older files. So we'll go back to digital demo. This is our file now. You go up to layer properties. You can go to that same button, Layer States Manager. And now here there's nothing listed because I don't have any open for this, but I'll import. I'll take it from my Rec and Command Center. Yep, that one right there. Okay, and then we will close. And now you can see my list just got way longer because I just imported all of those layers. So that's something you guys may not need right now, but it's really helpful for me because now I don't have to redo all of these layers. You can see I have a whole bunch of line weights here. I do have to figure out how to keep some of the line weights. I've noticed that when I import some layers, some line weights go away and some don't. So I got to figure that one out, but it's a really nice tool. So I'll undo. Look at that. Okay. So back to this. Let me see. Went over layers and line weights with you guys. Trim, extend. I'll go over the extend tool. We'll go over the trim and extend for anybody who hasn't been here. So let's say I made this line this long. Ooh, didn't click. Let me turn my ortho on. This long. We got this one. And there we go, just for fun. So let's say I actually wanted this line to go the whole distance. You can click on the line you want it to go to. You can type extend, or you can click it up here. It's not the trim tool. If you click the little arrow next to trim, it's extend. So we'll click, it did restart. So you can click that, you can click extend, and then any lines I want to go to this. So if you realized you didn't want that hole there for your door, let's say you're moving it, you can click on that, it will re-extend, close that up, it will extend this. Basically any line you click, it will extend to the box. So we'll just do all these random lines. Again, you can click and drag. There you go. So I drew that interior box and now it's connected to all my walls. So I am doing this in kind of a weird order because certain things come up at different times for many people. So I don't generally use extend that often. I was making some topography the other day, so I was using that a little bit. But now we can show you, we'll do trim for this side. So if I have a few lines that I'm trimming, I'll select all of them. If I select one, then any line connecting this one will trim. So I want to trim all of these. So I'm going to click all of them. Go back up to our trim option. There you go. I'll click and drag. Click and drag. And it just trimmed all of those really nicely. I'll reintroduce the fillet tool for those of you who weren't here earlier. Up here you have fillet, chamfer, blend curves. You can click fillet. I'll show you what happens. So right now, I believe my radius is still on. So if I click this line and then this line, it will create this radius because last time I used it, I had that 1 foot radius I created. So I do not want that. So I'll click escape. I'll click my space bar or enter, or if you're here, you can do right click, repeat fillet. So I'm going to come down here to my command bar, click on radius. And now I want to change my radius from 1 foot to 0 because I do not want a circle corner. So I'm going to click 0. Now if you go back up here, click this line, and now you have that perfect right corner, that right angled corner. Another thing to note too is it depends on where you click your line. So I'll click my space bar, takes me back to fillet. If I click here and here, it will create this corner. But if I click here and here, it creates this corner. So depending on what side you want to keep, we'll click that. So that just did that. If you accidentally do that, you can do undo. We'll right click. So something with CAD is it repeats any command that you do. Some other programs, if you delete something or you undo something, it won't count that as a command. So you can still right click. But if you right click right now, it will repeat the undo. So you can either go to recent input if you're not sure what command you just did. You did the fillet, you can type in fillet, you can click fillet. There's so many ways to get to this command. So we'll click this line here, we'll click this line here, and now you have this perfect box. And we'll join this. So I'm just clicking over all the lines, typing in join. So now this box is one big box. So let's try, I'm gonna put this in the middle. So I do have my snap blocks on for those who weren't here. My snap blocks are down here. I have my midpoint on, so the midpoint's gonna be the middle of the line, which is really useful. So I have endpoint, midpoint, those are probably the two biggest ones. I have a few others that only come up once in a blue moon when I need them, but they're nice to have on. So right now, okay. So I had the move command on and I accidentally clicked. So when you click, it will take it wherever you want. So I'm just gonna click escape, go back to this box, move. I'm gonna take this one, this triangle, this is my midpoint. We're gonna find, that's perpendicular there. Let's find right above was my midpoint. You can see the little triangle, that's your midpoint. And then we're gonna take this, again, I want this in the room. So we're gonna take this, find my midpoint, there that is. We'll find the midpoint down here. Now that I found that, I can drag up and you see that little X, that's where the intersection point is between those 2 points. So I'll click, and now this is in the middle of my room. So it's nice if you have, back down at snap blocks, if you have your extension tool on, you can hover over different points, and then when you move off the point, it will keep that line for you. So I'll undo that for those of you who are taking notes or doing it yourself. I just went back to my midpoint over here. Find it. There's my midpoint. Then I found the midpoint on this line. So I do have ortho on. That's why it's staying really, really right angled. So I clicked my midpoint, found my other midpoint, just went up from there. There it is. There's my extension line, and then I just clicked, and it's in the middle of my room. Okay, let me see what else we got. Okay, I'll show you guys how to use, this is honestly one of my favorite tools. Copy command is really nice. So it's up here, you can type in copy, it's down here. So copy is gonna be different than control, like copy and paste. So we'll just type in copy, then I can click wherever I want, click it, drag, then I can keep moving them. If you have ortho on, everything will go in a right angle, but I can just randomly click these around. If I'm making trees, and you have one tree, you can copy, bring it over, just keep placing trees, click escape. So that's different if you control C, because right now I just copied it to my clipboard, but then when you control V, it's kind of just right there. So copy is a lot nicer because you can click on certain points and you can just keep lining them up. So we'll delete some of these because I don't need a bunch of random boxes. Okay. And then I'm going to take this and just randomly rotate it again. So you have your rotate tool. Just going to randomly rotate this. I do have ortho off. Okay. So we'll do that. Okay. So now you have, let's say you have an angled wall or furniture, something angled that you need to line up with your wall or something. I'll click this. This one's one of those hacks that interior designers show me that I love. You type in a line, click enter. Now you can click whatever you want. We'll click over here, we'll click the corner, click it to this line. I'm trying to line this up with this line. Click that. I attach two lines here. You can click enter. Now it's gonna ask if you wanna scale the objects. So this is the tool I use when I'm trying to scale trees or furniture. If I'm trying to scale anything, I'll use the align command. But right now I'm just trying to line it up so it's not angled. So I don't wanna scale it, so I'll just click no. And then there you go. Your object is back at how you want it angled, which is super nice. Like I said, I'll go back to this one. These are my floor plans from last semester. I use the align tool a lot. You most likely won't do much angled work, but as you can see, we had a kite-shaped lot. So that was super annoying to do, but I use the align tool a lot. So we'll go back to this. So now you have this box here that's lined up.
So where did you find the align tool? Just type it in?
Honestly, not sure where it is. Yeah, I just type it in. I don't know where it is on there, but I always type it. So some tools are going to be on other slides. Some tools aren't even up here at all. So that's something where I was like, okay, well, I need to scale something or I need something on an angle, and I don't exactly know how to do it. So I asked one of my interior design friends, because they use CAD a lot, and they show me that. They're like, don't even use scale, use align. And I was like, okay, this is really nice. So you can do the same thing too. Let's say I want this to be like a couch. We'll go up to line, turn my ortho on. Also too, the line tool will line up with any line or shape. So you wanna make sure too, if you have like a right angled line, that it's at a right angle. So we'll make this couch here. We'll make this a 6-foot couch, okay? I just drew a line at 6 feet, escape. And I'll click this again, type in a line. So I'm gonna click here to here, and then here to here. So you have these two lines. I didn't go to the endpoints, it could be random. And you right click. I usually do 2 lines. I've never really had to do more. Then I'll say, yes, I do want to scale it. Then you'll go down. If you notice, when you align using the scale, it will take where you took those points from, opposed to align just as a turning tool, a rotate tool. So now you have, okay, Andrew just put in the chat that typing in commands are a lot faster than trying to find them. Yeah, so I'll do that. So now I have this box here. We'll go up to measure, and then I'll click that. So that is a 9 foot 3 1/4 inch box. So for those of you who didn't see, I went up to my utilities bar, measure, or you can type in measure geom, and then you get these options. Distance is the one I usually use, and then I just clicked corner to corner. So that box is still too big, so I'm going to use my align tool again. And now if you want to scale something, you should use your endpoints. So I'll use my endpoints there. Right click or space bar or enter, scale objects, yes. And now I have this nice 6 foot box. So I'll go up to move it down. I'll measure again. And now you have that 6 foot box, which is really nice. That's what I use a lot when I input furniture. If you use CAD blocks for furniture, I tend to get my sofas. Let me see if there's some in here. I got some sofas up here. When I import anything from CAD blocks, they'll come in like ginormous sizes. So then I'll use my align tool to shrink them down. If you're asking how I know that a sofa is 6 feet, you kind of just estimate. You have chairs, you got to think of chairs, maybe 3 feet wide. Think of love seats, sofas, 4, 5, 6 feet. So you kind of just use common knowledge of what you know. You can always Google normal sizes of beds, of chairs. So for my beds up here, I forget what size these are. Let's measure them real quick. So these are almost 4 feet beds. So it's kind of what you think will work in your space. So I have a desk with a chair, I have a dresser, I have a bed, and that all fits in there like a dorm room at school. So same thing with my tables. I will draw a line, align it. It's a lot easier than trying to use the scale tool, where scale's nice if you're trying to just increase size a lot. So we'll take this, I'll type in copy. Let's make another one, drag it down, hit escape, space bar, enter, whatever works for you guys. I'll click on this. Let's use our scale tool. So you can type in scale, you can click the scale tool. So you can do this here, you can click on a corner, you can stretch it this much, you can stretch it this much, this much, this much. We'll go right here, and it makes it huge. So I personally like using the align tool because then I can get very specific distances. But let's say you are using a tree, that also works where you just need a bigger size. You can just click, move, and drag until you get it to the size you want. And that's also a way. We'll delete that. Okay, let me see. I went over mirror with you guys and fill it, copy. Okay. Okay, we'll go down to, I'll show you guys the hatching tool real quick. Let me actually open a file. I'll show you guys what I used the hatching tool for before. So if you guys didn't see that, I just made a new file and went up here to open. You don't have to click a new file, you can just click open. We'll do the same thing. So I'm just gonna go through my folders. It was second year, last semester. I made a site model. You guys might have seen it. There was this huge site model. I had to laser cut it, so we'll see final. I think it's this one. Okay, so yeah, this is my site model in pieces for the laser file. So if you zoom in, you can see, sorry, the color is really bad. It's what's required by the laser cutter, but you can see this right here, this hatch is a brick pattern. So my professor wanted the facades on the buildings because why not? Like to charge us extra money. So you can see over here, I have some like vertical brick panels going on. I have normal brick over here. So let me tell you, that was annoying. That took a long time. We had some like corrugated metal here. So these are just different options. These are hatch tools in CAD. If you're using the architectural version of AutoCAD, you have some different hatch versions where there is actual brick and different textures. So if we go back to this, we can have our box. In order to hatch too, if you want to hatch something inside of, let's say these lines, let's do a poche for our wall cuts, you have to have the whole image on the screen. So we'll go up here under draw. You have this little box with some lines through it. That's going to be your hatch command. You have this bar that pops up here. So there are really two options when you're hatching. You can click inside the object or you can click the object lines. So right now, if I try to click, see, you can see my mouse is already glitching. We'll click inside here, we'll click, and it just hatched it for me. So I'm gonna escape. So I do not recommend using this a lot in CAD. If you need to, let's say for brick patterns, then you obviously have to do it, but it does glitch a lot. So right now, I just put this hatch in, it was really bright. So this is this pattern here, but you can't really see it because it's so, zoom in, there you go, you see all these lines because you're so zoomed out. But if I was doing a poche, I would make it solid. So now if you zoom in, you can't see it. I'll show you guys, there's a whole bunch of different options in here. Like I said, if you use architecture version of AutoCAD, you have more architectural materials. Here's some weird shingle looking pattern. We'll make it brick. Oh, it didn't like that very much. Okay, we'll not do brick. We'll do, let's see, we'll do this. So now you have that pattern in there. Like I said, I highly suggest post-processing your drawings in Illustrator or Photoshop because then your CAD files start getting really big, it starts glitching. So otherwise in Photoshop, I would take my image that I created in CAD and then I would just click the portion inside my pochade walls and then make it a black poche. So we'll get rid of this. It is its own its own little block. So we'll delete that, but we'll do a poche here. So this right now is clicking internal. So it's glitching because when it picks internal, it's trying to read all the lines. But if you go down to your command bar, you can do select objects. And then that's where you can just scroll over all the lines you want to use. Another little warning for this is if you have any kind of overlapping lines, it is not going to work right. It will become an issue, let me tell you. It has become an issue in the past. There we go. There's my, yeah. I have a warning actually on my screen if you guys saw it, that it's saying that I'm using some high quality geometry. So right now we already have CAD glitching because I'm using the hatch command. So we're just going to undo that. Ooh, I just clicked save actually. We're gonna undo that. Undo, undo, undo. Not deleting. Okay, we'll just delete it then. Okay, so I'm trying to click this and it's a small space. So you see me, I'm clicking my lines. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna scroll over everything. You can see this little dot is indicating my hatch pattern. I'm going to get rid of my lines here by holding shift. You can zoom in by holding shift, it gets rid of those lines. So I'm still holding that hatch pattern. I'm gonna just delete that and now it's gone. So let's see, I believe there's something in the chat. Yeah, Andrew is highly recommending against using hatch in CAD because it will cause your file to crash. So if you do have to use hatch, make sure you save beforehand. We'll save right now, control save. Okay, so this is what we have. Let me see. Okay, I'll show you guys one other thing. We'll do, let's say you have, I'm just gonna take this. We're gonna copy this. Copy. Let's say this is now my second floor and this is my first floor below. Your higher floors are always going to be higher up on your page. So you're going to read bottom up. So this is going to be my first floor. Let's say we'll delete this box. Let's say we have like a mezzanine. So we'll say that this floor here, we'll just draw that there. Let's say this is open to below and you have like a railing here. So I'm just going to take this, offset it. 2 inches is generally what I make my railings. So let's say that that's a cute little railing there. And this is open to below. So now I'm going to take a line, start from that area, go over to my corner, hit the space bar again, or enter or right click, however you guys feel most comfortable. Take it to the other side. Now I have these lines making an X. We haven't messed with our layer properties in a little bit, but let's go up to layers. I probably already have a hidden line on here, but I'm gonna create a new layer with you guys. I'm gonna call it hidden lines. Yeah, okay, we'll call it hidden lines 2. Okay, so we'll come over here I usually do my hidden lines fairly light. Let's see, I think we'll make it a 0.09. And then we'll go under here under line type. We'll click on continuous. So right now, this is what my line type will look like. Yours will only show continuous or solid line because I already have hidden in. You'll go down to load. You can go through all these random things. I don't know why you need like an S. When I see it's insulation, so you got S's, got some gas lines going on, but you go down to hidden line. We'll click on that. We'll click OK. We'll reload it because I already have it in. So now you have that loaded in, but you still got to change your line type to it. So you click OK. And now I have this dash hidden line. So we'll click OK. We'll get out of that. We'll select my lines. Go up here. Ooh, sorry. Go up here. We'll find hidden lines 2. Click escape. And now you'll see that you have some dashed lines. So if you zoom out, you can't really see them, or sometimes you might not be able to see them at all. So one option is to type LTS, which is your line type scale. So let's type in 30. So the higher you go in model space, the more visible your dashed lines will be. So that was just LTS. The only time I ever mess with that is when I'm doing dashed lines. So this right here is my open to below, so that's why it's going to be dashed. And then down here, now you have to draw that floor in, right, as a dash because you have that above. I'm just going to move this box over a little bit. Don't know what it is. Maybe it's some cool area rug you got going on. We'll go up here. We'll grab this line. What's nice too is don't try and freehand any of your stuff. Once you make one line, you can usually use offset or mirror or trim extend, and always use ortho. Very rarely do I ever freehand draw any of my lines. So now, since these floors are the exact same, we're going to click on this line, type in copy or click copy. We'll click on this corner. We'll go down here, click on this corner, click escape, and now this line is at the exact same spot it is up here. So now right there you have your perfectly lined up floors. You're not trying to measure it out to figure out what's going on. Now I'm just going to take this, make this my hidden line 2. Where's hidden lines 2? And now you have, that's where your floor is above. So if you do have anything above, you're supposed to dash it to some cute little drawing convention techniques there. So now you have your first floor with your mezzanine outlined above, and then you go up and then here's your floor. And because it's open to below, you dash it. So there you go. Last part that I'll show you guys before we start taking any questions or anything like that. We'll move that over. Okay, down here, you'll notice you have model and then layout 1, layout 2. So I'm just going to go into layout 1. This is what's called your paper space. So you have model space and paper space. So right now I'm going to right click down at the bottom left corner. I'm going to right click on layout 1. Go to page setup manager. Sorry, I'll move this over. So this is what it looks like. I'm going to do modify. So right now it's telling me that it's an 8.5 by 11. I usually make mine, I'm making that to Adobe PDF. You guys didn't see that, Adobe PDF. I'm going to make mine 11 by 17, which is the ledger. And right now I have it as landscape, so that's fine. I'll click OK. I'll click OK again. Whew. And then I usually just like to drag these out. I do have ortho on, so it's just a little iffy. I'll turn ortho off real quick. We'll drag these out. So this is when you guys need to go, maybe for class, your teacher tells you have to print out whatever you've been working on so you can draw over it. Or when you're making your final boards in InDesign, you'll take your floor plans or whatever out. So I'll just move this over. I have this weird 3-part mouse pad where I have the mouse pad and then my left click, my right click. I have this middle click. So I just take that and drag. As you can see, I'm in paper space right now. So it's a little weird because, so as this is your paper space, right? If you double click inside the box that you have drawn, you're now in model space. So now you're basically seeing the same screen you had before when you were drawing lines. So I'll click that, I like that. I'll double click out. You also have this option down here, paper or model space. Okay, so it tells you what you're in. It's not what you're clicking to, it's what you're in. So right now I'm in paper space, so it tells me that. When I'm in model space, it also tells me that. So that's really nice to know when you're scaling, because sometimes I'll scale something, I'll be like, okay, it's good. Then I'll accidentally be in the wrong space and try to zoom, and I'm like, now you gotta rescale everything. So right there, that's what you got. Another thing to note, we did change the LTS, our line type scale, in model space. So as you can see in paper space, these lines are not coming up dashed. And let me tell you, it took us the longest time to figure out why those lines weren't printing dashed. So we'll just type in LTS again. We'll make it 1. And now you can see your dashed lines. So something to note, the lower your LTS scale is in paper space, the more your dashed lines will show up. And it's going to be vice versa in model space. So when you're drawing on your model, if we go back to that, your dashed lines are going to be super tiny again. So you can see that. My lines are still there, but now they're just bigger in my layout. Okay, so that we have that right now. Now you can see your dashed lines. I'm going to double click into my model space, or you can use the model paper space option. If you go to the right, you'll see a whole bunch of numbers. This is your scale. So when drawing in AutoCAD, you want to do everything full scale. You want 1:1, 1 foot equals 1 foot. But obviously when you print your drawings, you're working at 3/16 scale or 1/16 or 1/8, whatever you need. So you come right here, make sure you're in model space. These are all the conventions I use. I did create a new one because I was using site plans, so I made that one on my own. But let's say we want this to be 1/8. We'll click that, and it's scaled right to us. So it didn't really move. We are already at 1/8 scale. So I'll make that 1/4. You can see it zooms in. Make it 1/8, which fits very nicely on this 11:17. Let's see it. 1/8. There we go. So now it's scaled, and I can lock it, and now I'm in paper space, so it's not zooming inside. Another thing too that's kind of up to you guys, when I'm in model space, I don't like the grid behind. So I usually turn that off, but you can turn on like a dotted grid or grid lines. I'm not a big fan of that, so I usually just turn it off, but that's all preference. Another thing too is that this paper space will clip a portion of your drawing out of model space. So right here, I have like a little bit of drawing, so that I'll just move in my model space, or I'll crop it out later. But right now, this is your 1/8 model, your 1/8 floor plans. So then from there, you can click Control P, which is generally what I do. Adobe PDF, Ledger, you'll click OK, and then it will take you to saving it in your files. So that's how you'll take drawings out of CAD. So I canceled that. That's how I take mine out. And then when I put them in InDesign, I just make sure that I don't scale them at all because they're already at a scale. So I just keep it the way it is, I'll crop it, and that's how I get my drawings out of CAD. So that's basically what I have for you guys. If you guys have any questions, I see Andrew's looking to say some stuff. So that's really just a quick review of AutoCAD, some different things. If you guys have any questions, you can ask or type them in the chat.
Awesome. Kylee, thank you so much. Like, you know, clapping is weird on Zoom, so big props. I'm just gonna wrap up our recording right now. I'm just gonna hit stop on that. Thank you for everybody for coming, and just one last plug. Remember, if you want to give a digital demo, if you want a digital demo, or there's something that you want, get in touch with me, get in touch with Key Administration, and we can set it up.